Good evening, folks. Really glad to have you to the show. Tonight we're going to talk about something very important here. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at Lynette Zhang and a new program that she's produced. It's called Banks Will Modify Your Contracts During the Reset. Hyperinflation, Part 2 of 4. Now, I watched the first one that she produced, and I watched it with interest, but it wasn't as much. I didn't have as much interest as I do in this one. This one I had a lot more interest in. The first one, she was basically laying the groundwork, and she was going over a lot of material that I've went over before about hyperinflation and stuff. But this one, she's getting into some really very interesting information here that she's uncovered, and it docks with information that I've laid out in my show, and I don't believe in coincidences. And what I mean by that is, there was a magazine cover that was done years ago in a magazine that is owned by the Rothschilds. And the magazine is called the Economist magazine. And on the magazine cover of the Economist, they had a lot of symbolism on this particular cover. They had a big bird, a phoenix. Now, the phoenix is a mythological bird that rises from the ashes, but it also represents something. It represents the something that they had over in culture. Now, see, one of the things I've studied a lot is the ancient structure of the religious structure of the religions of the earth. And I've studied this in great detail. And there was something in the ancient times that was called the dying, resurrected God-man. And there's about 140 different examples worldwide of the dying, resurrected God-man. And a lot of them are very similar. Some of them, one was Mithra and Mithraism, where they used to have it depicted the sun god, and the sun god was ushering out the old age, and he was on the back of a bull, and he was killing the bull, and he was ushering out the age, that particular age, and he was ushering in the new age. Now what's happened is a couple thousand years have gone by, and now we're entering into a new age again. But now I'm getting sidetracked from what I'm talking about. There was all these different dying, resurrected God-men. When the phoenix represented a dying, resurrected God-man, what the dying, resurrected God-man would do is he would die, and then he'd be reborn to life in the physical. Horus was another version of these dying, resurrected God-men. And the Horus, the reigning king of Egypt, would be called the Horus. He was also the Pharaoh. And what they would do is, at the death of the Pharaoh, they'd do a ceremony called the opening of the mouth, where they had a little tool that they would use to pry the mouth open, and they thought that his soul would become an immortal star in the sky, and he would live again. He would be reborn from the ashes, so to speak. Well, the phoenix represents this same sort of thing. It represents the king. This phoenix has, if you take a look at the picture of the phoenix, it has a diadem on its head that's called a regal, or regalia. And this is a type of a crown indicating kingship. This phoenix is standing on top of the ashes of the burning currencies of the earth, indicating that these currencies are in the process of dying. 2018. They're in the process of dying. They're beginning, and they're not completely burned, they're just starting to burn in 2018. The burning process is the hyperinflation. This is all symbolized on the cover of the Economist magazine. The phoenix represents the new system beginning to stand in 2018. He represents the new system. He represents the regalia, or the regal, or the authority of the earth. The new system is authorized to be a king, a standing king, or kingship. Around his neck is a gold coin, and the gold coin says 2018 is the year. And the coin is made out of gold. indicating that the power that gold actually has. There's a Greek symbol on the coin, and also there's a number of things. Now, here's the thing. This all ties in. When I watched this program with Lynette Zhang, and she was excited. You don't often see her get really excited, but she kept saying, I have goosebumps, in reading this. This is because this, I think what she's uncovered, is the final stages of the reset that they are actually planning. It has been planned a long time, and it's going to begin in 2018, and evidently it's going to conclude in 2021. And she's uncovered evidence of this. They're going to have to reset all the finances of all the financial institutions earthwide. Some $370 trillion of nominal contracts tied into LIBOR will all have to be reset. And IBOR is the interbank offer rate. IBOR. And it's all going to have to be reset by 2021 because they're updating it with something called SONIA. It's set to replace LIBOR in 2021. Now, the examples of the different contracts that they're going to have to reset are interest rate swaps, forward rate agreements, cross-currency swaps, interest rate options, interest rate futures, futures contracts, syndicated loans, business loans, mortgages. Now we're starting to strike home with you guys. I said mortgages. Credit cards. Now I'm striking home with you guys again. All have to be reset. Auto loans. Striking in with you guys again. Consumer loans. Striking in with you guys again. Student loans. Striking in with you guys again. Corporate and non-U.S. government bonds, agency notes, leases, trade finance, FRNs, covered bonds, capital securities, perpetuals, repos, reverse repos, time deposits, credit default swaps, CDSs, and commercial paper, mortgage-backed securities, asset-backed securities, commercial mortgage-backed securities, collateralized loan obligations, CLOs, collateralized mortgage obligations, CMOs, and late payments, discount rates, and overdrafts. They've basically just named everything. Everything's going to have to be reset to SONIA. And they're going to have this all completed by 2021. This means they're going to have the entire financial system have to be completely reset by the start of 2021. By 2021. So you know what this means? This means there's not 2 years left. There's 2019, which is 12 months. And we're already nearly halfway into this year. So there's only about a year and a half here to complete this entire swindle that they've got planned. And that means that this whole thing is going to have to get started rather quickly to get through and completed by this. By this time, when they complete this, and they complete this entire reset of these assets and all of these product examples that are tied to LIBOR, and they switch over to SONIA, $300 trillion in notional derivatives they have to switch over, and they have to reset all these things. By the time they do that, it's going to take at least 6 months. And that's if it goes smoothly. This means they're going to have to get in to the part where they showed in 2018 is the first part where the currencies are starting to burn. They completely burn in 2019. This means they become completely worthless. So in 2018, because the picture on the Phoenix shows these currencies actually in the process of burning, means that they still have value because they're not completely burnt. I mean, if something's burning in the stove and it's got some fire on it, you can reach in, grab it, and blow it out, or step on it, put it out, and you can still use it. It's not completely ashes. And this is what the example on the Phoenix showed us. And this is exactly where it's going. They've already started to burn. We just haven't seen it. This whole process is going to happen rather quickly, because we're going to have the deflationary spiral that gives them impetus. The deflationary event is going to give them impetus. It's the trigger. They are starting to pull the trigger. They started to pull the trigger in October of 2017. October, November, December, $10 billion, those 3 months. And they increased it to $20 billion. They know that what they're doing is they're actually pulling back on the trigger with their reverse quantitative easing, with their reverse selling of these toxic assets. They know they're pulling the trigger on the entire system. What it's going to do is it's going to cause the market to respond at a certain point. And then this will give them the reason to do what they're going to do next, which is reverse direction. And see if they did all this, let me explain to you. This is the way they always work things. It's problem, reaction, solution. So what they're doing is right now they're withdrawing liquidity from the system, which is going to create a problem, right? And then they are going to wait for our reaction to this problem. Now, they're going to make it bad enough so that we react. So that means that they're going to have to close banks. They are going to have to make it so because there's a credit freeze and everything else, so that all of you people out there feel the pain. They're going to have to make you feel the pain. And you're going to react. Then when you react, then they come in with the solution, which is going to be for them to do monetary stimulus all over again, but bigger and bolder and better. Now, if they tried to do that monetary stimulus right now, everybody would just squeal, no, you're not. You're not going to do quantitative easing for. There's no reason for it. We're in an economic recovery, right? We don't need quantitative easing for. Oh, and you want to do what? You want to have a guaranteed basic income for all people in America? You're not going to do that. That'll increase the debt exponentially. No, you're not going to do that. But if they come along and they tear the system down, tear the legs out from under the system, have the system collapse, and everybody feels the pain, then they can come in and say, okay, we're going to do a guaranteed basic income, and everybody will cheer and say, yes, please. Just take the pain away, please. And so this is what they're going to do. And this, what Lynette has uncovered, I believe, is the final conclusion. She's uncovering the conclusion of what's going to start very soon. And this has all got to be concluded by 2021, according to what she's uncovered here. What she's uncovered here is extremely important. It's extremely important because it gives a timetable. It's starting to show me the timetable of this collapse and how they've already got it planned, and they've had it planned for years, because look how old the cover of the Economist magazine is, way back in the 80s. They knew the exact year this was going to happen, and they know right here the exact year that this Sonia is supposed to set to replace LIBOR in 2021 at the conclusion. And this is the conclusion. This is when they reset everything and put it on Sonia instead of LIBOR. These derivatives, so that all the derivatives are all recontracted over and switched over. They're planning on doing all this in an orderly fashion. They're going to take out all of the cash this way. This is how they're going to get rid of cash. They're going to get rid of cash by forcing us to get rid of cash. And what they're going to do is they're going to destroy the value, the purchasing power of the cash, and then they're going to come along and they're going to reinvent cash in a new digital form, and then they're going to force us to take this new cash in a new digital form. They're going to force it on us. Now, one of the big questions I have is how the cryptocurrencies that are already here are going to play into this, and how gold and silver is going to play into this. Just exactly how. And I believe I have answers to these questions, but I'm not absolutely certain. The pieces of the puzzle are starting to come together for me in the timing of this whole thing. And to me, I found that this program that she produced right here, I watched it 3 times tonight. I tried to take in as much as I could of it because it's so important. She said share it with everyone, and I believe she's right. And it was giving her goosebumps. And it is so important that it should be giving people goosebumps. This is very important information because it gives a timetable that we're right on top of it. It's going to start right. It has to start right soon for it to be concluded by 2021. This whole thing is going to take time for it for it to process through the system. So they've already pulled the trigger. They started in October of last year. And already they're getting it tighter and tighter. They're getting the liquidity tighter and tighter. This whole thing is just going to melt down at a certain time, probably before 2019. We're going to be right in the middle of it, before the end of this year. And it's going to be real tough times coming up for this winter coming. And why that's important and why I said about winter is because if this crisis occurs in the wintertime, it's going to be harder on everyone because you need more food in the winter, you need more heat to heat your house in the winter, and you might actually be put out on the street if you have a lot of debt and you are reliant only on fiat currencies and you don't have a real good job or something. You might end up out in the street, and a lot of people actually might freeze to death if this thing occurs in the wintertime. You know, I'm serious. I mean, it's not a good time to become a hobo in the middle of the winter time. And this whole thing is really going to be nasty. And, of course, your protection is going to come from you getting out of debt, because what she's also showing here is they're going to reset everything. They're going to be able to reset interest rates and everything according to what they want. So they can charge you as much interest rate's going to explode. And so if you've got credit cards and stuff, you're going to be paying, it's going to be ridiculous what they're going to try to do to you. But anyway, I found this to be a very important article here, what I was seeing here. I'm going to actually watch it a couple more times probably, because I'm still trying to digest everything that's in it. There's a lot in this. But this is a very important piece of the puzzle. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next show. Bye-bye for now.